You know, when you're sitting in Las Vegas, and especially when you're hanging out around the Strip, you meet some of the greatest entertainers in the world. And I was fortunate enough to have this gentleman drop in and see us, and that is Mr. Harry Basil from the Laugh Factory. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you? It's great to be here. I'm very good. I'm very good. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You insulted me just a little bit there, just a little bit.
I promise I would never do that.
That was my Abe Vigoda impression.
I have such regard for your work.
Thank you so much, Rick.
You have been in this business for, I'm not going to say how many years.
I think 25, 30, close to 30.
I was going to say a couple of decades.
Yeah.
All right, make it simple. Just
decades
a couple of decades.
25, 30 years sounds, you know, like
right.
a walk in the park, but decades.
Well, you know.
I guess that's true.
Well, I don't know about you, but see, actually next year I'll celebrate my 35th year in broadcasting entertainment.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if that's, you know, maybe condolences. I'm not sure.
That's great.
My question to you is this: comedians, the comic industry, it's changed so much.
Well, especially here in town. I mean, I was one of the first comics to perform at the Comedy Store back in 1984 when it opened at the Dunes Hotel, and we were the first comedy club on the Strip. And I remember opening week, we were on the cover of a review journal that said, "Unknown band of zanies take over the Dunes," and it was Jim Carrey, Louis Anderson, myself, Paul Rodriguez, and Andrew Dice Clay. You know, and all those guys are famous, and I'm nobody. No. And then, you know, to play all the comedy clubs like the Comedy Stop and, you know, the Improv, and now to be part of the Laugh Factory, which just opened at the Tropicana.
Right.
And which is a really famous chain. You know, the Laugh Factory is like one of the hottest comedy clubs in the country, and it's the first time they're coming to Vegas. And it's pretty wild to be in the same location where Rodney opened his club in the 80s, Rodney's Place. We're in the actual same showroom. So we actually have a booth completely dedicated to Rodney there, you know, the Rodney booth with all of his memorabilia up on it.
And that's what is fun. It's like every one of these older hotels, like the Trop, the Riv, the Sahara, and so on, they all have these little nuances and great stories, just the buildings themselves.
Oh, yeah, totally.
What you were saying is it's almost like coming, you know, full circle. You and Rodney have worked for years.
I was Rodney's opening act for like 18 years, and I wrote 5 of his movies, co-wrote 5 of his movies with him, including the soccer comedy Ladybugs, and I directed his last 2 movies before he died, and which Rodney loved to help comedians out, you know. I mean, Jim Carrey used to open for him. I opened for him for 18 years, and then he allowed me to co-write his films with him, and then he said, "Man, you're ready to direct. You want to direct my next movie?" And Harry's going to be a director, okay? You know? What
a great impression.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's real Rodney. That's not the Rodney on stage. It's like, "Hey, how you doing? Okay, where you from? Back east? All right." You know?
So when you look at comedy, as it originally started out, and what it is today, there is so many different aspects to it. There is not just the what I call has got to be the toughest job in the world, which is standing up with just you, a mic, and a light.
Right.
That's got to be tough. But then also the movies, and then also you were mentioning about YouTube and how people are able to get their
like today, you know,
out.
years ago, industry people would go to the comedy clubs in Hollywood and find the new talent and put them on, you know, a development deal and put them in TV. Today, not many industry people go to clubs. They go, "Oh, you know, well, send me a link to your video." You know, nobody sends tapes or DVDs anymore. You can go on YouTube and watch any performer's act, almost see their whole act, you know? And there have been comedians who have become famous from YouTube, like Russell Peters or Dane Cook, you know, MySpace and YouTube, and they just became, you know, internet sensations. Because, you know, you'll say, "Oh my God, this guy's making $15 million a year. I never heard of him before." He sells out wherever he goes. The internet, you know, made them famous. So, you know, there's a lot more opportunities. But that said, there's so much content. You know, years ago, Rodney used to say when you did a Tonight Show or a Sullivan Show, the next day you'd walk on the street and everybody would recognize you. So there are comedians you meet today and, "Oh yeah, I've done the Tonight Show 10 times. Oh, I've never heard of you, never seen you." You know,
right.
There's so much to watch, you know.
And it's just coming in. Is it back up? Is it easier for comedians now, or more difficult because there's so much competition?
You know, both. I think. You know, I mean, they're you know, all of a sudden, if you don't have any film on yourself, You can go to a comedy club, shoot yourself, professionally edit it, and put it on the internet, and some people may discover it. So there are those opportunities, but then there is just so much content and so many avenues. It can be harder to get discovered, harder to become famous, you know. Well, I don't know if I'm answering that correctly.
No, you really are.
Yeah.
It's becoming difficult, and the platforms.
Like, I've been in this business for 20-something years, and most people have never heard of me, but I make a great living, and I've done films, and you know. Are we wrapping it up?
We are, in fact, Harry.
Well, listen, I just want to plug the Laugh Factory. We have 8:30 and 10:30 shows, new comedians every week, and it's 2 for 1 for locals every night, Las Vegas locals. We want to bring the locals back to the Trop, and for hotel guests, too.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
Harry
much.
Basil. We'll be back after this. Nothing bad, does it?
Cost of labor.
Cost of labor. I'm expensive.